Hey, this is Pam Perry. We did a quick switch right there, real quick. I am here with Quinn Conyers, and I'm trying to get us together here so that we can. There we go. Yes, there we are. So I am here with Quinn Conyers. She is in the issue of Speakers Magazine for the month of May. We've got TC Cooper on the cover, but Quinn is in here. Really, the thing that she's talking about is how to profit from public speaking. And that's what Quinn knows a lot about. Let me just read you a quick little bio about Quinn before we get started. Quinn Conyers broadcasts the brilliance of Black women in business by training them to turn conversations into cash so they can profit from public speaking. I like all that alliteration in there. She really has an event that's going on, that's coming up, called Speak Black Woman Experience. You can hire her as a speaker or interview her for your podcast. Visit QuinnConyers.com. And she also has a book, so you can pre-order the book as well. So Quinn, thank you for joining us today. So tell us about really the why behind the book and really Speak Black Women, and why that is really something that you're doing, and give us a little bit of backstory, I guess, about that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Pam, for having me here. You know that I've been a fan and champion of Speakers Magazine and everything that you've been doing with highlighting, I feel like, is one of the best industries, but also kind of overlooked, especially when it comes to women and people of color. So I just want to celebrate you for having a magazine that highlights our voices in our industry in a way that I want to flip through and read. So thank you for that. And yeah, so Speak Black Woman, How Women in Business Can Profit from Public Speaking is my second book, and Brian Olds actually wrote the foreword. So if you are familiar with Speakers Magazine, you know that is the official magazine for Black Speakers Network. And I realized through my work, coaching, training, and speaking, serving Black women, that everyone wants to grow. They want to scale. They want to expand. And then there's a million and one ways to do that. But what I find that your voice is actually your secret weapon in business. So what I want these women in business to know, that if you want to grow, you want to expand, you want to attract clients and customers as soon as you open your mouth, you need to be speaking. And the reason why I am calling out Black women is because in business, on average, we make about $27,000 a year. Black women who've started businesses have increased by 164% since 2007. And of the money that goes to women-owned businesses, 2% goes to women. Of that 2%, 0.6% goes to Black women. And that's a problem. Why? Because we are the fastest group of growing entrepreneurs. We're making the least, we're failing the fast, and get this, we are the most educated. So if you are in business and you want to grow and expand, there's a million and one ways to do that. But literally using your voice, more importantly, public speaking, is a way to connect with your audience. And you can really use public speaking as an income stream, marketing strategy, and lead generation for your business. And that is what I teach, and that's what I believe.
So speakblackwoman.com, that's the website. They can get the book, which is your second book, and they can pre-order it. You have an event coming up. So Quinn, one of the things that I find that Black women probably don't have a problem with speaking per se, because they want to talk about their business, they want to talk about their offers or services, just knowing where. Like, is it at the Chamber of Commerce? Is it at church? Where are they speaking? Do they speak, at the PTA meeting? Where are you seeing women are not getting invited to speak, I guess you would say, on those stages?
Well, a lot of women that I talk to are not really intentional about it. They raise their hand to become an entrepreneur. They raise their hand to become a speaker. And then all of a sudden somebody says, hey, do you want to speak here? Hey, do you want to be a panelist here? Wow. And they're like, wait a minute, what? So they don't know about an honorarium. They don't know about this industry, or they know someone who's in it and they've been doing this for 10 years. And now they're comparing their day one to somebody else's 10 years. So there's an education that has to happen. You can't request a $2,500 or $500 or $5,000 honorarium and you have a $5 website. You have $10 marketing materials, right? So part of it is showing them that if you want to really leverage, how do you want to leverage speaking, right? Because there's multiple ways, right? So we talk about how, can you leverage, and then where can you go where they're already gathered? And part of really honing in and leveraging your voice is voice visibility. And I tell people, you got to pick a platform and dominate. You can't be TikTok and Snapchat and Clubhouse and LinkedIn Live, Facebook, Instagram Live. It's too much. So where is your target market already gathered? You show up there, you serve them, and now you can use that Facebook Live, that Clubhouse room as literally leads for people to buy your product, your service, your coaching program, or your online course. So there's strategy behind not just speaking, but being a messenger, having something to say, realizing the value in your voice and understanding that you are literally the solution to somebody's problem. You're the answer to somebody's prayers. And if you're quiet, muted, or muzzled, someone doesn't get what they need.
And so where have you started, like in terms of speaking? When did you notice this was a thing that if we speak, we get paid, that you can turn your conversations into cash? I know that you had a business before really doing Speak Black Women. So kind of give us some success stories about when you realized the power of your own voice.
I realized the power of my voice. Literally, I knew it throughout my life, but then somebody asked me that magical question. Well, how much do you charge? This is a profession? What do you mean? I didn't even know it was something. So then once I realized it was something, I began to go down this rabbit hole. And literally that started in college when I was a student at Howard University. And I got my first paid speaking engagement for $750, Pam. I thought I was rich. I mean, literally.
As a college student, that was a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think I ate good for like a month, So my friends were getting $7.50, hour for work study. And that's when I realized it. But to be honest with you, I didn't understand the business side. So it was very hard for me to market and promote myself. I didn't understand a one sheet. I didn't understand a website. I just thought that I could go somewhere, open my mouth and talk. And then people were going like, yeah, we would love to have you. So that was the beginning of it. And as my voice matured and evolved, I began to do more things and just realize that, part of my mission, part of my assignment, part of my obedience is to magnify, illuminate, and amplify the voices of others as well. Because there's many awesome and amazing business owners that are leaving money on the table, not growing like they should. And it's not because their product is weak. It's because they haven't verbalized their value. They haven't articulated their awesomeness. They have been conditioned, muted, or muzzled to be quiet. So it's my job to give them their voice back in business.
And I like when you talk about that you didn't know the business side of speaking. I always tell people that there is a methodology to it. I have a Ready, Set, Go, Speak, which is really like a methodology, like how to get your mindset ready, how to really get set. Set is what you said, the one sheet, your sizzle reel was great, which we embedded in Speakers Magazine, having the bio. If I say, okay, Quinn, we're going on the podcast, I need your photos, I need your bio, you're sending that over right away. It shows a certain level of professionalism. So that's the phase. Getting a photo shoot even before you get the one sheet. I mean, there's certain things of like, okay, I want to do this. What are the steps? And then the other part is really go and that's really doing the pitch. And like I said, I asked you, I said, well, how do people know where to go to speak? And you said they just have to be intentional. So if they want to speak on the stage at, say, Black Enterprise, or they want to speak on the stage of South by Southwest, they have to be intentional about it, but they have to have all these other elements. And then the last phase is speak, which is really what you're teaching people to empower their own voice and really use their voice to turn the conversations into cash. So it really is a whole framework. Does your book outline some of the framework of what it is that you've done? Because you had another business where you won a lot of pitch contests as well. So you kind of talk about that as well. Do you cover that in the book?
I do. And it's interesting because in the book, I talk about how I lost, leaned in, and leveraged my voice in every aspect of my business. And the business that you're talking about was Purse Paparazzi, and the times change. I've had 2 children, but before I was doing this, I was selling handbags. I was licensed with 4 of the major sororities, AKAs, Deltas, Zeta, Sigma, Gamma, Rhos, and I was licensed with 7 HBCUs. Yes, it was awesome. And I've gotten 3 contracts out of those organizations to create like their custom handbags. And one of the questions I always get is, are you a member of a sorority? I'm like, no, but I'm a part of a sisterhood. So I would get questions and asked to speak. how are you making these handbags? How did you get licensed? How did you get a contract with the AKAs or the Deltas? And you're not an AKA or Delta. It's a close-knit family. So I would talk about what I did to license my bags, what I did to create them, how I found a manufacturer. So speaking just kind of crept in. And to be honest with you, we were getting more orders than we could demand. I'm like, I need some money. And I couldn't go to a bank or a loan or ask for a loan or a line of credit. And again, 0.6% of Black women get the money they need to expand. And I remember when I was in college, they had business pitch competitions. I'm like, if they had business pitch competitions for high school students or college students, do they have them for adults? And if you're not familiar with a business pitch competition, it is when you give your best 30, 60, or 90-second elevator pitch, and whoever has the best one wins cash and prize. So literally, I'm like, where are these business pitch competitions? And I talk to people about how I use my voice, public speaking, as now a funding source. So I teach people that you can now get money to revenue to grow your business through pitch competitions. And some of my clients have won $25,000 in their business. The most I ever won at one time was 10 grand. And I would just nickel and dime it, but I would take that money. And I just realized, like, speaking is the heartbeat of my business. And I believe that if you want to be not super successful, not successful, but super successful, you need to have a speaking component. And if you want to earn ridiculous revenue as an entrepreneur, speaking has got to be a part of how you show up and serve.
I love it. That is exactly it. And that's really why Speakers Magazine is around. That's why you wrote the book. That's why you have Speak Up Black Women. That's why there's Black Speakers Network, because that is where the money resides. Okay. Yes. That's where the money resides. And you can find that the people that are doing the best in the world is successful. They're awesome speakers. So not being afraid of speaking, knowing how to communicate, that turns into cash, your offers, your services, you just letting your light shine. So Quinn, I thank you so much. Is there something else that you'd like to add before we wrap it up? Because I know we have a date that we have to go on at 4:00.
Oh no, I pushed that back. You okay. Magazine. Yeah, we're good to go. So
okay, good.
10 minutes. I didn't want to feel like we were short. And it's you, Pam. So I'm like, hold on, push this back. We'll be okay.
Thank you.
But yeah, of course, so part of it is absolutely, I think that, what I have understood about this industry, everything that I do, it just comes down to, using your voice and understanding it. And what I tell people is your voice, public speaking, will open up doors that money cannot. Because of the promotion and the publicity that comes with it. I remember I lost a business pitch competition for Black Enterprise Magazine. And they had one, I was selected one of about hundreds of people to be chosen. I went to Chicago and I pitched, and I literally lost that competition, $10,000 on the line. I remember there was a woman who was looking at me and she was taking notes and looking at me and taking notes. And finally we were face to face and she says, "Hi, I'm a writer for Black Enterprise Magazine, and I would love to feature you in the way you pitch in an upcoming issue." And I said, "Ma'am, I don't know if you were at the same competition that I was at, but I lost. So you might want to go talk to the winner." And she's like, "I'm very aware of who won this competition, but I like the way you pitched." And in that moment, I realized that even though I lost, I still got publicity in one of the largest Black publications. And even to this day, saying that I was featured in Black Enterprise, Speakers, it opens up doors. So, you really want to understand that showing up and speaking can be the reason why you get attention to your product, your service, or being featured in a magazine or a newspaper, or you get media requests. So it's publicity and promotion as well. It's just a great skill to have as an entrepreneur.
It's your own personal PR program when you're speaking. So what about this? What if someone doesn't like the way their voice sounds? Like, you have a really good resonance in your voice. You have energy in your voice. And people say that when I speak, it sounds like I'm smiling. But what if you're monotone, don't have a smile in your voice? Maybe your pitch is way too high. And a lot of women feel that. That's a real thing, is my voice is too high. Because you notice a lot of the radio personalities have really kind of like a real deep kind of a baritone type of voice. There's not a high pitched sound on when you hear Black women in radio. So do you help women with their voice quality? Is it like vocal coaching as well?
I do not. Because I believe your voice is your voice. And I just happen to know that God gave me a high energy voice. So I use it. But what I also tell people is that your whisper can hold weight.
Oh, okay.
You don't,
I do know some people that talk when they talk so low, you're kind of like listening.
yes, you're leaned in, you're still paying
Mhm.
attention. So it's like whatever voice that you have, is the voice that you have. It's just that how can we work it? How can we work it in a way that works for you? Because there's some people who have to be very high energy, but if I lower my voice, you want to pay attention and lean in. So whatever your voice is, I think that, polishing your presentation, sharpening your speaking is always beneficial, but trying to change your voice is the equivalent to trying to change your race. Like you just can't do it.
Right.
It is what it is, but how do you work at it to be the most authentic you? And people who don't like their voice is probably because they envy somebody else in the industry. They want to be like somebody else versus being and owning who they are and being authentic in the voice that they have been giving and leveraging that to their greatest capacity. Even though I might be inspired by some of the greats, I don't try to be some of the greats because I never want to be a knockoff version of anybody else. She's great, but she sounds like this person. Right. I want people to hear me be like, I know Quinn, and that is 100% Quinn, and you can't deny that. And I think that is what's been working for me.
Have people ever said this? And they said that to me sometimes when I would answer the phone, that people say you sound like your mother. And a lot of my daughter now, when we talk together, we sound like each other. The pattern, the iteration, everything is the same. Do you sound like your mom, or does she have the same kind of high energy voice as well? Or
no, they don't. My family is like, who is Quinn? Where does she come from? I mean, to this day, she's like, so let me get this straight. People pay you to talk. I'm like, yes, mom. She's like, I don't get. She talks to people. That's what I can tell you, Linda. So it's like, no, I don't think. I think that, if anything, she's told me that I was speaking in full sentences too. I was the kid on report card I got that she talks too much. I think that it's always kind of been there, but I feel like I literally was uniquely made. Like I don't know, and it's interesting. I was having a conversation with someone because there's some things in areas of speaking that I would like to move into. And I really didn't see too many people in this area. And she simply said to me, Quinn, she saw me on another podcast and her coach was like, who is that? And she's like, oh, Quinn Conyers. She's like, who's Quinn Conyers? She's like, oh, let me tell you. So then she reached out to me and literally she said, I want you to understand for where I want to go next. And I would love to share that with you, Pam. She was like, you're looking for someone who's doing that. And I need you to understand that you're going to be the trailblazer. And I was like, wow. Like it's
Trailblazer is being hard because there is no roadmap. There is no model. There's no mentor. You are blazing that trail. That's the hardest thing to do because you don't know if it's right or not. It's, who can you bounce the idea? That's tough. And that's kind of like what you're doing with Speak Up Black Women. You're really being a trailblazer for that. There are a lot of speaking organizations, but not just for women. And so I like how you're making that pivot because if you were a trailblazer for something a long time ago, you're always going to do that. I find that's part of your personality. It's part of leadership. You're going to trailblaze for everything that you do. You're never going to be a knockoff for someone. I remember doing that in high school. We were trailblazers for certain things and we started organizations and we always did certain things because we were blazing the trail. It's not just for you, it's for the people behind you. And that's probably part of your heart of where you were brought up, just to do something that is going to make a difference for people behind you so that it's like, okay, I'll make the mistakes. I'll go ahead. I'll go first. You all come behind me, learn from me.
And growing up, I come from a small town. I just felt bigger. I can't describe it. I just felt like I was meant for more. I felt like my life was supposed to be an example. And I just kind of stepped into that and got more comfortable with that. Even with the app Clubhouse, I know I mentioned to you earlier, like I hosted the first audio only competition show for Black motivational speakers on Clubhouse when it was like in its its infancy stages. We're doing it again in October. It's going to be for women only. But at the time, I was looking to highlight and amplify the voices of Black motivational speakers globally because a Clubhouse is a global app and all you can hear is the heartbeat of somebody's voice. Mm-hmm. So that was a trailblazing and I was able to get, great sponsorship and everything else for that. But at the time, it just felt like, what is right? How can I shine a light to some of the best speakers that I know that the world may not know. And let's do a competition, right? And again, it was so amazing. I made so many contacts. So many people are like, I'm let me know when season 2 is. I'm like, October, we're doing it again for Black women only. You know what I mean? Because I'm taking the Speak Black Woman theme and I'm carrying it out for the rest of the year. So I got some great events coming up, for the rest of 2021. Literally, I am literally just getting started on what I want to do and how I even want to transition my speaking career a little bit, to be honest with you, from where I am now to where I see my future is.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things. It's when you said that, I don't know where that came from. It's vision. It's being a visionary. That's like part of it. I'm part visionary if you kind of do personality tests, and also promoter. So I like promoting other people when I see things, and I see it in certain things, in certain people. When I see an it in someone, like you're like an it girl. It's like she has the it. What is that it? I don't know, but it's something that other people need to know about. And the whole covers of Speakers Magazine and people who are in the magazine, they have that it, and they want to shine. And we just have to offer them the opportunity for the platform for them to shine, for other people to hear how amazing they are. And if you're not, quote unquote, where you want to be, like what you said, I'm doing something about it. I'm going to take a course. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to get on Clubhouse. I'm going to listen. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to basically do the work to show up the way I want to show up, because, you never settle. So where is your background? Where did you start? Because I know you went to Howard, so that's a big city. So where did you start? Where were you born?
I'm originally from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour and a half from Baltimore, Maryland. It's about an hour and a half from Philly, real small town. Most people know it for like shopping and Amish people. And no, I'm not Amish, but I do like to shop, right? So yeah, just small town. And I was able to go to Westchester University for undergrad. And I just realized that, when that was done, I felt like the learning process didn't stop, but it just was beginning for me. And I decided to go on to Howard. And what people don't know is I turned down a full scholarship to get my master's at University of Florida, to go to Howard. So I don't know what my life could have been, but I do know that I felt such a tug, this like, go to Howard. And I'm so grateful that I was obedient to that voice.
Yes, because I remember you said that we were on Clubhouse one time, and you said that Dr. Ben Chavis was there when you were there.
Yes, I met so many people at Howard. I mean, the guest lecturers that will come through, Magic Johnson, Kathy Hughes. I mean, like, I can't, if I just sat down and thought about it, it was just like, so many people that's like made us stop, and like they would just come to campus. It wasn't no leadership series. They were like, in town, we want to go to Howard, and it could be like on the yard, literally. And it would be somebody, we would just all be at their feet, just listening. It was just the environment, the electricity of Howard was like young, molded minds who would just want to just sit at your feet and learn. Like Dean Dates, like I even ended up building a relationship with Dean Dates at the time. I was in the School of Communication with her secretary. I'm like, here is my number. If somebody comes on campus, call me, because there was never a bulletin. Like Donnie Simpson would just show up on campus and talk about radio. And it was, you would just hear it through the grapevine. Yeah, that's just how it works.
I just read today that Felicia Rashad is going to be the new dean of the College of Fine Arts. I'm like, what? Really?
How it happens. I mean, Chadwick Boseman, he is a Howard alum, Ananda Lewis, Anthony Hamilton, P. Diddy, he didn't graduate, but there's a lot of alums. So they come back because it's their school, even though they're quote unquote, famous. But that was like very normal. And I just was like, okay, I know I'm supposed to be here. And, there's just a family about it. But it showed me, like, I felt like I learned how to be a leader in undergrad. I became an entrepreneur in grad school.
Yes, that is good. And a trailblazer, really like.
And a trailblazer, yes.
Because if you hadn't really come in contact with a lot of those Divine Nine, the paparazzi would not have been around, right? Because I don't think you would have got that at the University of Florida.
Yeah, no. But I mean, they were, I was always familiar. I mean, everybody thinks I'm in a sorority anyway. You know, I always get, are you an AKA or you get a Delta? I get that all the time.
But they started at Howard. Like
They started at Howard. So that was very prevalent. That culture was very, very big. And I just saw the sisterhood and I saw, you know, just what they stood for, which was amazing. So, I mean, I've always been around Black girl magic. Now I'm just intentional about making sure that others realize their Black girl magic.
I love it. I love it. One of the things about Howard was their communication school, their school of communications.
Yes.
So every year when I was in college, I went to Wayne State University and I was in the journalism school, which was a really good journalism school. It was right in the city. And like you said, dropping guests would be people from Detroit Free Press, Detroit News, you know, all the major dailies and things like that, radio stations, TV stations. So they would drop in, there would be guest lecturers, but they were always Caucasian. They were always white. So we would, friends of ours would go and travel to Howard University School of Communications and would like, look at all these Black people in communications. It was like, my heart was just being like, this is so cool. And we would go every year and we would still keep in touch with a lot of those friends who are in media today, people who went on to work for USA Today, CBS, NBC. So yeah, I know it, that whole feeling. Ed Gordon, we used to always meet up there too. People from other, I guess you would say, schools that weren't HBCUs would always go to the Howard University School of Communications, their career conference or whatever it was called. And that was, it was just electric. So that right there is,
and that's where I was. I was in the School of C. That's what we call it. Yes, School of Communications. I got my master's in mass communication, media studies. So yeah, it was everything.
Yeah. And even then, I think it's a unique, Yannick Lamb. She's a professor at Howard University.
Yes. She was the one she was a part of my thesis committee. So, you know,
bad. She's bad. I love her. She was, I think at one point, the editor at Heart and Soul.
Yes.
Yes, Heart and Soul. So yeah, so those are the people. And then also too, there's a lady that's at Spelman now. I can't think of her name, but she was also with Heart and Soul. So yeah, so all of the, I guess you'd say a lot of the communications people have some kind of connection with the Howard Communication School, which is a natural thing of why Black Women Speak is where it is right now because of that. We're going to give a shout out to that. So when people go to Black Women Speak, talk about, I want to talk about you have the training, but you also, the Black Women Speak, Black Women Experience. And what is that?
Yeah, so the Speak Black Woman Experience is happening on May the 22nd. And what I am doing is I'm celebrating the birth of my second book, which again is Speak Black Women, How Women in Business Can Profit from Public Speaking. And what I'm doing is I'm taking these women on a voice voyage with me. I'm showing them how I leaned in, lost, and leveraged my voice by diving into various chapters of the book, but also showing them how they can do the same. So I'm talking about how I found my voice at Howard University. I talked about the incident that I lost my voice and I was silent, meaning not speaking for 3 years. Wow. I talk about, you know, how I've used speaking to grow my business, right? So I'm doing all that to show them, like, I didn't wake up like this. I worked for this. I talk about how I literally paid my last little bit of money, jumped on a plane to go to San Diego for Lisa Nichols Speaking Right to Make Millions conference, right? I talk about, you know, all of that. Like, listen, this is a journey. But what I've realized is once you understand and own the value in your voice, not only will it open up business doors, it'll open up relationship doors. You know, I remember, you know, just being able to connect with people like Brian, people like you who also share the love of speaking. Like, people, let's be clear, it is the number one fear of all Americans. So even though that we're able to do this, there is a community of people who really respect the craft, who love the craft, who want to highlight, especially that next generation. And Dr. Frazier and I talked about that before too, is who is the next generation of young Black speakers, trailblazers, right? He's like, Quinn, I'm getting old. I'm 70 something. Like, I'm trying to pass the mic or pass the, baton or pass the mic back to certain people. And I'm like, you know, we exist. We are here. So our voices need to be highlighted. Our voices need to be really just enhance. So my goal of the book is to show people, I want people to have me in the palm of their hands and know that this is going to be a resource. This is going to be techniques and strategies on how they can use public speaking as a lead generation, marketing strategy, revenue stream within their business. But I'm going to give you the ugly side too, not just when Quinn woke up like this, but how Quinn worked for this, so they understand that we are so much alike more than we are different.
That is so true. So is it a virtual event? Is it a in-person event? Is it?
It is virtual. It's 100% virtual. I do have some things that I am working on in the fall to kind of open up some things because I really do want to kind of have live again. But for now, it's still virtual. I'm trying to stay COVID compliant, but I'm itching for in-person. I am itching. I am ready for an in-person stage. But I'm not going to lie, virtual has been good to me too. I've been able to juggle being a wife and a mom a little bit easier too, with literally coming down to my revenue room and doing stuff like this versus having to travel everywhere.
That is true. That is so true. So it's a virtual event and people can actually go to register at here.
You can go to speakblackwoman.com or you can go to QuinnConyers.com and click on events. So speakblackwoman.com, there's an events page, or you can go to QuinnConyers.com and click on events. And that's how you can register. Tickets are free. I want you to come. I want you to learn. And more importantly, I want you to understand that your ability to articulate your awesomeness can be the reason why you are overlooked or why you're hired.
That is so true. One of the things that I find that public speaking will do, and if you speak really well, and this, you probably heard this before, people who speak really well are just perceived to be a lot smarter than those that stay quiet. And it can be a good thing or a bad thing. So say, for instance, you're really not that bright, but you speak really, really well. We had a president that, maybe I didn't get in political here, but but he was a master at marketing. But what message were you saying? So that right there, and I know someone's going to do a case study if they haven't done that over and over again about the speaking ability of 45 and how it went from just, oh, he's just speaking, to the highest person in the land being elected from his voice. No matter whether we liked it or hated it, it was his voice. He came from no political background. So the power of the voice, if we don't understand anything else as Black people, we know that we've got to counter any type of craziness to make sure our voice is really heard and strong. You know, the strongest voices in our history, Frederick Douglass, Dr. Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, Dr. George Fraser, those are people that are making a difference in the lives of Black people. So we do have to speak up and speak out. And I just love what you're doing with that, because the whole thing of, it says, speak Black woman. And I'm working on a book, promotion for Chicken Soup for the Soul, I'm Speaking Now. And the book comes out in June. And really the whole thing about this book is really 101 voices of women telling their stories in Chicken Soup for the Soul. They have had other books. Lisa Nichols headed a book up that I worked on 20 plus years ago called Chicken Soup for the Soul, for the Chicken Soup for the African American woman's soul. I worked on that one years ago, but this one is I'm Speaking Now. And that's what our VP had said earlier when she was in the election, when she was in the debate with the VP at that time. It says, I'm speaking. It's like, hold it, boo. I'm speaking. So I'm speaking now for Black women is so important in this phase right now. And I'm glad you are really leading the charge on that. You're leading.
We're in style. People honestly want to hear what we have to say now. I mean, diversity, equity, inclusion, not just buzzwords, but people really are like, they do have a different thought process. We need to include more of these diverse perspectives and opinions in this process. So I say now more than ever is the time to speak up. And people always ask, why don't you think? Because history, has muted and muzzled us. So now that we are encouraged to speak up, many of us don't know how. So it's people like you, Pam, and people like me that we almost have to unsilence these women and let them know that it is okay and give them permission, to use their voice. And through my events, through my initiatives, and through what I have going on, I really want people to know that.
It was on the back cover of the May issue. Speak up.
There you go.
I'm speaking now for Chicken Soup for the Soul. It is more than just a trend. We're now like a movement. And so I'm glad you are leading the charge with that. So people, go to speakblackwoman.com. This is the thing that Quinn is just birthing another baby number 2 with this book.
Yes. I'm excited about it.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Find her in Speakers Magazine, the May issue. Go to speakersmagazine.com. You can hit the online issue, get it there. And then also, too, if you want to learn about PR and marketing, you can join our PR marketing club, Ready, Set, Go, Speak. And we kind of talk about the whole things, the one sheet, the sizzle reel, how to pitch yourself to the media, how to do the press releases, all of that in Ready, Set, Go, Speak. So you can go there as well. So Kern. So Quinn, thank you so much. Kern was last time.
Gotcha, no problem. Yeah, I can see how it sounds similar.
Yes. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you on your event.
All right. Thank you so much, Pam. I appreciate it.
All righty. Bye-bye.